Pastors are often struggling for time. They're time poor and looking for ways to shortcut and get through to things and get the real people things ministry done. So I'm here today with Dustin Stout, founder and creator of Hey Magi, a brilliant AI tool I use just about every day of my working life. Great to have you here, Dustin, in the YouTube channel. What do you think is one of the common misconceptions that church leaders, pastors have that kind of stops them from using AI to the full?
Well, I think it's just that they think it's hard. The what stops them from using it is they think it's more complicated than it actually is. A lot of people still we're 2.5 years in almost. Well, 2 years and 4 months, maybe 6 months,
Yep.
2.5. So we're already 2 years in, and a lot of people still have a lot of hesitation about using AI. They don't understand how it works. They maybe don't understand how it could work in their daily life or work or ministry. And so the what stops them is just not getting started. And I often try to tell people this, like it's really not as complicated as you think. It's really just as easy as going into a text message thread with an old friend or somebody you know who's really smart, and asking them a question, asking them to answer something that you have or give you feedback on something that you need. It really is that easy. You don't have to be a prompt engineer. You don't have to be super intellectual and like the biggest smartest tech person you know. You just have to know how to communicate. And most pastors, they are in the position that they're in because they're great communicators. And so I highly encourage pastors and anybody who's in a communications role, you're probably really good at AI. You just don't know it yet.
I think it's really true. My wife, who is not the most geekiest tech person around, been training her how to talk to AI and just have a conversation, and just doing the
Hmm.
chat thing has really worked for her. Now, I think that mindset is a real major thing for pastors, just to accept the fact of jump in, have a go. You'll be shocked, literally shocked, jaw dropping shocked of what can go on with it. I know with pastors schedule each week, they're spending a lot of time. They'll preach 30 to 50 sermons a year. They'll spend anything up from 6 hours. Some guys go to about 16 hours of preparing sermons. Sermon preparation is a big time user in a pastor's schedule. Are there any particular AI tools or way you can use it that can just help that sermon preparation? Not necessarily to create a sermon within 30 minutes. I don't think that's the goal of pastors, but what could kind of make sermon preparation a bit of a time saver using AI, Dustin?
Well, I know. So it's been a long time since I prepped a sermon. I actually was a youth
Mm,
pastor back in the late early 2000s. But I know for me personally, I use AI a lot when I'm in Bible studies, and I think the
mm,
application that I use frequently could be great for pastors. And so for pastors in particular, you want to do a Greek word study. You want to dig into a word and the roots of that word and the cultural implications of that word. We have lexicons and Hebrew translation Bibles, and we have all these tools. Logos is one that I used when I was in ministry. I'm
yep.
sure it's still prevalent today. We have all these tools, but those tools do take time to use. And so with AI, it's already been trained on all of this information that you're going to go find out there. You're going to take the time to search through. And very much like, the transition we made from having to go to a library and go through the Dewey Decimal System and thumb through all the catalogs and go find the books.
Yes.
AI is really just shortcutting that even further. So we had the internet, and then the internet made it easier to go search information and find the information we're looking for, right? But AI is taking it a step further than that, in that you could just say, "Hey, this word in Ephesians 2:10, where it says workmanship, tell me what the original Greek version of that word is, and what it translated to back in that time," and it will give you that information in a fraction of the time that it would take you to go search all of it out. Now, you may want to go and double check, because sometimes AI makes mistakes, and so use the guidance of the Holy Spirit, and then maybe have either your assistant or you do the double checking later. But it can shortcut a lot of that research
Mm,
and have it right at your fingertips when you need it the most, so that you can shave off 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, and that adds up over a number of different tasks. Another thing that is really helpful, I think, for sermon prep in particular, I always found it difficult to bridge the gap between the biblical teaching and the current culture, and weaving in, that's oftentimes the crux of a good sermon, is how well you relate it in an analogy to your congregation and the current cultural atmosphere. And so one thing that I found AI is really, really good at is, if you can't find a relevant analogy, or the analogies you're coming up with, it just don't feel like they hit, ask AI. Say, hey, I'm teaching this sermon. Our goal is to teach this lesson, to get to this goal, and I want to relate it to our congregation. Our congregation is mostly 30 and 40-year-olds with 2.5 children. What would be a good analogy that I can use to bridge the gap between what the text is saying and what the text is trying to teach in a modern culture? Just tell it, like, give me an analogy for this, right? And the stuff that the AI can come up with that will help you, you may not use exactly what it says, but it might spark an idea that you didn't have before. And whether you're a pastor or a writer or a singer, a musician, we've all come to that point where we have creative roadblocks, and we just get the writer's block gets to us and we don't know where to go. AI provides us a way to sort of break through that by giving us alternate perspectives we might not have thought of, and alternate ideas that we may not have been able to come up with.
I think it's so true. It really can kind of launch you into different thinking and different aspects of thinking. I think one of the advantages of using Hey Magi, and we'll put a link in the description below so you can sign up and get into Hey Magi, because it is a brilliant tool. And the beauty of it is that it's kind of all in one. It's a one-stop shop where you go and you've got Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini. I can't remember all the ones that are there. I use
It's a lot of
Claude a
them.
lot in that content. Yeah, there's a lot there. Possible remember. You keep adding more. It's fabulous. Um, I use Claude a lot when it comes to the content creation side. Is there a particular tool that you'd say to a pastor who's doing that Greek word study, or wants to know more about the city of Rome at the first century when
Mhm.
Paul was there? Is there one particular tool that you'd say might be better than others?
So when it comes to factual information, again, you always want to sort of fact check the AI, make sure that you're not blindly just believing it, because AI can just completely make stuff up. It's called hallucination. That's the technical term for it.
Yes. Yeah.
It can make stuff up. So you do want to fact check it. But if you were to ask me my personal opinion, which one I trust the most with factual information, right now would be Claude 3.7 Sonnet. And the
Okay.
reason for that, the company behind Claude, Anthropic. It was actually, this company was started by people who left OpenAI. They were originally working for OpenAI, building their GPT models, and they left because they didn't feel like OpenAI was paying enough attention to safety and accuracy.
Mm.
So once you start using these models, you'll find that ChatGPT's models tend to be very creative. They can come up with some really creative stuff, but oftentimes that level of creativity can lend it to being more likely to hallucinate or make stuff up. And so the way that Claude is engineered, fundamentally, it focuses more on accuracy and safety. And so it may be less creative in some aspects, but it can be less likely to hallucinate and make stuff up. And so that's kind of why I always go to Claude 3.7
Yeah.
Sonnet in particular, their most
Yeah.
advanced model, when I want factual information referenced or when I ask
Yeah.
about factual information.
Feeling stuck as a church leader? Growing your church doesn't have to be overwhelming. The Hub gives you step by step roadmaps to grow a healthy church in just 20 minutes a day. Join the hundreds of church leaders who found their breakthrough by accessing my 4 decades of ministry experience, which delivers genuine results. Start your free 14-day trial today at growahealthychurch.com/hub. So a pastor preaches a sermon, he's got it recorded on video. What's a quick way for him to repurpose that long form content? You've got a 30-minute sermon, or maybe you've got, guys that love to preach 45 minutes. The Lord bless their
Yeah, love
congregation.
those.
That can be a bit long for me. Give me 25, 30, I'm happy. What could they do to kind of repurpose that? They've got the raw content or the fresh content they've produced on the Sunday,
Right.
but they want to
Yeah,
utilize it during the next month in different ways. What would be
that
the process for them to do that?
that's actually one of my favorite uses of AI, because
Mm,
coming from both being a teacher and also being a blogger that I did that for a long time, and a social media consultant, I know the value of having rich content and being able to send that content out across the internet in different ways to reach different people. And I preached this as a marketer for many years to churches and to pastors. You should be taking that Sunday sermon and just turning it into every little bite-sized piece of content you can,
Yeah,
sharing it on
totally.
social, sharing it on your blog, sharing it as a podcast. Every church should be doing this, but it's so time intensive, right? It takes a
Mm,
lot of work, and who has time for all that when you're too busy spending 50 hours on the next sermon, right? So one of the things that AI is really good at is taking that long form content and just turning it into other little bite-sized pieces of content, or even just long form content but in a different format. So one of the great tricks that you can do with Magi, and I engineered it this way from the beginning, is if you have your sermon as a YouTube video. Many churches broadcast live on YouTube and it gets automatically uploaded to
mm,
YouTube. If you have that YouTube video, what you can do in Magi is you can simply paste the URL to the YouTube video, and you can say to the AI, turn this YouTube video into a blog post, for example. What Magi is going to do is, because it sees that URL, that YouTube URL in there, it's going to go fetch the transcript from
mm,
that video. It's going to pull it right into the conversation and attach it to your prompt as if it were, an attached document, as if you just attached your recording there. And the AI is going to be able to do exactly what you asked it to do. It's going to turn it into a fully structured blog post that you can then copy and paste right into your church blog. Takes you all of 30 seconds,
mm,
right? And then you can say, okay, now from this, write me 30 social media posts to go out throughout the week on all of our different social media channels. And then just name your social media channels, and boom, it'll do it. It'll take that content, and it'll be accurate of what you said, because it has that raw transcript. It can then
mm,
create those social media posts for you in a matter of seconds. You could take it even further. You can say, I want to create a study guide based on this sermon with discussion questions that actually get people talking. And then it will go format out all your discussion questions for you. Really phenomenal when you start to go down the rabbit trail of like, how can I turn this big block of text, your transcript,
mm.
into other formats of text that will help us do our ministry in all the ways that we want to do it. I'm sure there are pastors out there who have thought of more creative things than that. But when people ask me that question, in
Mm.
a church scenario, those are sort of my first go-tos. If you're not doing this, like, you're really missing out on some of the biggest value
Yeah.
you have turning that sermon into other pieces of content.
I think one of the things I really never enjoyed as a pastor was taking my sermon and turned into small group discussion questions. It's the thing
Oh,
I
it's so
dreaded
hard,
in
right?
teaching. Oh, yeah, it's just like annoying. I've got a sermon. Why do I need to do this? And to think that AI, back in the day, I could have pressed a button and there's my 4, 5, 6, 7 questions ready to go within a minute. It's just like, oh boy, it's so good.
Yeah, it's tough.
One of
And I
the
can tell you, as a church attendee, it's one of the most painful parts of small group when you have bad group questions and they're
yeah,
just not, they're like,
totally,
the answer is
totally.
Jesus. It's like too easy. It's all the answer
Every
is Jesus. It's like
question has the
Sunday
same
school, right?
answer.
But AI can really, help you come up with some out of the box thinking that, that'll help you
That's
get it
true.
done faster and with
Yep.
greater creativity, more flexibility, different perspectives. It really is a lifesaver in many aspects
Yeah.
from a creative standpoint.
Yeah, you get to do the things that you're avoiding, and you get to do them quicker and easier and better. So
Yeah.
I don't know why people
You have
don't
more
use
time
AI.
for relationships, right? You
Absolutely. You can
the
focus on
the
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 main
work
things you're there for.
of content and sermon writing
Yeah,
is super important. Teaching is super important. Group study questions, super important. Getting
yeah,
those bite-sized messages out there, super important. But you know what's more important? Face to face,
that's so
human to
true.
human. That's the most important work. And I think that more than anything is what AI is going to help us do. Is it's going
Yeah,
to spend less
totally.
time on the 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 secondary tasks of ministry so that we can spend more time on the primary tasks of ministry, sharing the
Uh,
gospel and ministering to people directly.
Absolutely. Gives you more time pass to go to a cafe and have a coffee with someone, which is
Absolutely.
better than writing small group questions, trust me.
Yeah,
I
better
do
than
think
writing
so.
social media posts, that's for sure.
Yeah, totally. One of the main things I find in my consulting over the years is pretty well when I ask pastors, what don't you enjoy doing? Admin always comes up. Just every single pastor, and I've worked with scores, hundreds. Admin. Is there any AI tool or aspect of using AI that you could think could reduce the admin overload that pastors often feel when they're time poor?
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of things. So AI is really great with files. So if you upload a file, whether that's a document,
Hmm,
a PDF or a spreadsheet, and you need that sort of administrative, like figuring out the content of these documents or summarizing these documents or calculating all the things in a spreadsheet. AI is really really good at that. So just in something like Magi, you can upload those files and have the AI analyze these files and make suggestions for these files. All sorts of administrative tasks. I mean, I don't know all the administrative tasks that happen behind the scenes at a church, but if it's something to where the AI you can upload a file and have the AI give you feedback or information, or
hmm,
even analyze and craft something for you,
hmm.
the AI is very good at doing it.
Yeah, I found that recently. I did analysis of my YouTube channel, and AI helped build me a spreadsheet that then, once I put data in the spreadsheet, it analyzed and gave me a full blown report on the data. So, kind of again, this sort of thing of doing stuff that you think, gee, I've got to do that, but it's going to take me hours. I don't want to do it now. It's just too long. Actually, thinking left field. Now, if you're wanting to get into Hey Magi, Dustin, we'll put a link in the description below. But also, pastors, if you're thinking about what are AI trends you can't ignore, I've got an interview right here with Steve Fogg, who's got a great insight into, and I know, Dustin, we both
I
know
love
Steve,
Stephen
great
Fogg.
friend of
He's
ours.
great.
He's got a great interview. Check out this video on AI trends you can't ignore because the revolution is coming to the church. Great to have you on the channel, Dustin. Thanks so much for Hey Magi and all you're doing for the kingdom with your AI stuff. It's awesome.
Thank you, John. Great to be here.